be maximum points for Sergio Perez, who on the streets of Singapore wins the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix. This, the greatest race for Sergio Perez, potentially.
So Perez went on to take a win, and it was a superb win for Checo. I think it was his best win in really difficult circumstances. A timed out race, the full 2 hours around a tight street circuit with intermediate conditions, with slick conditions, with a huge amount of pressure from Leclerc, who was equally brilliant behind, piling on that pressure. A couple of lockups from Checo, but nothing more. And he backs up a Baku win last year, with a Monaco win this year, now a Singapore win. Jeddah was his first pole for Red Bull as well. There's a real trend coming in for Sergio Perez. Even in the Force India days, he was on the podium in both Baku and Monaco. He is no doubt a street circuit specialist, and it showed once again. So good when there's minimal margin for error in Singapore. Squeaky clean, perfect drive, a fantastic victory. But should it have been a win for Checo? I don't know. And the stewards took actually a long time hauling up Checo after the race to talk through a couple of safety car infringements. And I think he's lucky to get away with this personally, but there's a lot in play for what's going on. So first of all, let's have a look at it. Lap 10, safety car's out, and Perez leads the pack on intermediate tyres, coming through turn 13. Now, the rule is you have to queue up behind the safety car. You can't leave more than 10 car lengths between yourself, the safety car, and the cars around you. So everyone's queuing up in the snake, but here goes the safety car. And at this point, maybe this is the limit of 10 car lengths that Checo's on now. Safety car lights, you can just see there escaping up there. Perez is there. Maybe you get away with that. But Checo just stays slow, and safety car disappears up the road. He's now out of shot, and still Checo is not getting on the gas, and that gap is really opened up. It's clearly a lot more than 10 car lengths now. And then finally, after a long time holding back the pack, he manages to get on the gas and go. Now, occasionally, in times of obvious difficulty, heavy rain, tough conditions, drivers fighting for control, this sort of thing might happen. And it might happen further back in the field where it's far less obvious as well, to be honest. But for the race leader to do this is a big oversight. And the stewards were immediately told of it, actually, by Lewis Hamilton on lap 10. We heard it over the radio, Lewis saying that whilst the safety car lights were on, which they were crucially, the safety car was not coming in at that point. It was just Perez dropping back to try and get some heat into the tyres. And we can watch it again, although this one, it looks identical. It's a different one. This is lap 36 now, set of slick tyres on Perez's Red Bull, but exactly the same thing. Now, he's been warned over the radio about this. The safety car disappears up the road. Perez holds back. Out of shot goes the safety car by miles. And now Perez starts to go. And he's been warned already over the radio. The FIA have warned Red Bull that this was an issue for them already on the first safety car. Red Bull gave that to Perez at the wheel. And he's still basically done an infringement of the rules. And we can see why he's tried to do this now. Sitting in behind the safety car, at this point it's fine. But if you just listen in to the revs on the exit of this corner, you can hear the spike as he's getting on the throttle. This is what he's after, to build up the speed and get tyre temperature in. There he goes, up through the gears. And now he can build up, weaving, put more load on the tyres. He's basically built up a buffer so that he can accelerate and really work the steering more and get temperature into the tyres. So there's a material gain of why Perez has done that. And in the end, the stewards decided a reprimand for the first one and a 5-second penalty for the second one, which I think in the end is a lucky call for Perez, because I think they are both worthy of a 5-second penalty in my opinion. The caveat is, it never should have taken to the end of the race for the penalty to be given. If the stewards decided the first one was a reprimand on lap 10 of 59, they could have given that reprimand immediately. It's a fairly cut and dry case of a driver backing off so much and then going. It's obvious what he was doing. The stewards could have given him that reprimand immediately. And then I'm sure we wouldn't have had the second case, because Red Bull could have been crystal clear over the radio. The first decision was dealt with. There was no impending penalty coming in or steward's decision. And I'm sure we wouldn't have had the second case. Equally, if the stewards decided the first case on lap 10 was a 5-second penalty, we still wouldn't have had the second case, and maybe Perez might have held on even with that 5-second penalty on lap 10 when Leclerc had a slow pit stop, changing to slicks. It would have been pretty tight actually with Perez holding in the garage, but Leclerc's 5-second stop, Red Bull had done a 7-second stop. He might have held on to the lead and held on to the win. It was a clumsy one for the stewards to delay both decisions till after the race, and I would say convenient that it was a reprimand and then a 5-second penalty for a driver that had already built up more than 5 seconds. It didn't decide the race, and I think there's a slight concern that there's hesitation to penalise a driver from the race lead. We've seen it a few times now with Verstappen and Leclerc in Austria, with Verstappen in Brazil last year, and now Perez. I think he can count himself very lucky that he got away with it. And we've seen tough punishments in the past. This was Red Bull driver back in 2010, Sebastian Vettel, minding his own business on a safety car restart in Hungary, odds on to win this Grand Prix as well, as it was, behind Mark Webber at this stage, and just minding his own business, really weaving on the tyres. Webber's gone, safety car's about to come in, Vettel's caught napping, and as we come round this penultimate corner, safety car, in he goes. Webber's coming through the final corner, a massive gulf between the two cars, and Vettel got a drive-through penalty for that one, which he was not happy about. And at that point, there was no option of a 5-second penalty. That only came in 2014. So it was a pretty tough penalty for Sebastian Vettel. But it has to be there to stop drivers backing up and artificially playing with safety car gaps, which can be dangerous and unfair as well.
Why do I have a drive-through? Why do I have a drive-through?
For the restart, stay focused.
They were under investigation for safety car infringement.
For what?
Safety car infringement. Investigation after the race. Let's disappear.
So that was a look at the couple of safety car infringements Sergio Perez had to defend in the stewards' room after the Grand Prix, which could have derailed what was otherwise a perfect, splendid drive from Checo to take a second win. Loads more action in the Grand Prix as well, all over the place from start to finish. Check it out on F1 TV.